even Tesla talks about, if you want to understand the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. And I really relate to that. And the more that I focus on just studying vibration and qualities of energy, it opens up so much understanding and helps me get beyond ego.
Are we one? Are we infinite? Are we temporary?
Our guest tonight is Miguel Atwood-Ferguson. He's one of the most accomplished musicians I've ever worked with. One of the most accomplished musicians I've ever met. He's an absolute, his resume is just unbelievable. I've never actually seen a resume like this. If you go on his website, it's just, there's too many names to even mention. I'm going to let you talk about some of that. But besides all the incredible people Miguel has worked with, he is actually beyond being an incredible musician, he's an incredible human being. Wow. And someone who really taps into the essence of what it means to be an artist.
Thank you.
And so I'm very excited to have you here today.
So happy to see you.
I'm so happy to see you.
Yeah. I always felt like a kindred spirit with you.
Well, me too. There's some magic that happens with musicians when they play together. Where they don't have to speak and they just sort of understand something between them. And that's something you and I always had from the get-go.
Yep.
I should say, Miguel is just an absolutely stellar viola player.
Thank you.
But also plays many other instruments and a composer, an incredible artist, an orchestrator, amongst many other things. And he's a very, very prolific composer. You have your album, Le Jardin Mystique, Volume 1,
yes,
is a 10-hour epic masterpiece.
Aww.
And it is really one of the most incredible, spanning jazz and classical and some, contemporary forms of music, but it's really its own thing, and it's just really quite incredible. Anyway, so over to you, Miguel.
I'm just so happy to be here. I always love being in your presence. I love making music with you. We have to make a lot more music together.
We should.
It's so fun to, grow as a human being. Not that I have no criticisms of us before, but it's so fun to grow and then come back and compare notes, It's so fun. I feel like a little kid around you, in the best sense, of the word. And I'm just so happy to be alive and so happy to have a friend and a mentor in you. And
come on, brother.
Well, seriously, for real. And just to, follow you and see where you're going with your life. And I'm intensely excited to be alive and see what can I do with my life and how can I enjoy it, but how can I hopefully leave behind some little, cookies that might be able to help somebody, embrace their life even more deeply. So I'm excited.
It's beautiful. Well, I tell you what, right off the bat, sometime in the near future, we should do a collaboration.
Please.
I would really love that. And I think it will be really fun because of what you said about we have worked together in the past and then we haven't for a while. And then so it is very interesting to see, okay, where has your journey taken you? Where has my journey taken me as artists, and then come back,
Yes.
Yeah.
And see, what has changed, what hasn't. And I absolutely have always adored you and your artistry. So, if nothing has changed, that's cool too. But it's just fun. Yeah. I really love the dialogue with art itself. And I'm not here to tell art what to do. I'm here to listen to it and be an enabler for as much magic as I can. And I think that starts from within. And so I don't think there's one best approach to art and life and music, other than hopefully, trying to amplify love. But I'm definitely of the ilk of people that like to share what excites me, and then finding my tribe via just sharing what is interesting to me, and asking fun questions. Obviously, we do need the solidity of some really clear, concise answers in life on the daily, so many of the things that are interesting and uplifting for me are just connected to awesome questions, that just open doors and unlock certain things within. And did you ever hear that Kafka quote, Franz Kafka quote? Let's see if I can say it without paraphrasing. I probably can't. The purpose of books is to break apart the frozen sea within.
Oh, wow.
And I love how I get my ass kicked every day in life. Trying to be a great dad, which I think I'm a great dad, and a great husband, and just a good person. And I think because I'm earnestly doing that, I get my butt kicked. And I want that because it shows me my incongruencies, and I'm learning how to be like less intimidated by that. That's one of the cool things with getting older. I'm just surrendering to the process. And I think the process is infinite.
It's never ending.
It's never ending.
How is the process of life linked to the process of music for you? When did that start?
Consciously, age 4, but probably before then. My father is a very passionate singer-songwriter, pianist, guitarist, and was just all in music. It's like there's no other path for him. Like I can't imagine him doing anything other than the music. And my mom was an educator and loved the arts, and was constantly showing an appreciation for diverse art and culture. And so I was very fortunate to grow up in the house I grew up in Topanga Canyon. Amazing. Beautiful Topanga Canyon. And so music was all around me. Diverse music too. So diverse, spanning hundreds of years and spanning many different cultures. And so when I saw my brother, who's 6 years older, playing the piano, who's not a professional musician now, but he played piano every day as a kid, and my younger sister playing as well. It was younger, but see my older brother, how influential older siblings can be. And then that combined with both my parents showing this appreciation. So it was all around me. And I really felt so connected to music seamlessly, like air, from an early age. At one point I did contemplate maybe going into baseball. I'm still a huge baseball fan, but thankfully I stuck with music. But yeah, at age 4, I told my mother at a Suzuki Institute, Shinichiro Suzuki had a beautiful, still does. I mean, he's no longer alive for some time, but he has this beautiful methodology. And so at this one Suzuki Institute, I saw all these kids playing violin. And so at age 4, apparently I told my mom, this is what I want to do. Like from a very deep place saying that. And she was nice enough, both my parents were nice enough to get me lessons. And at age 4, you don't get handed, or at least I didn't get handed, a wooden violin. So I had to prove my sincerity.
Wow.
Starting with a cardboard cutout.
What? So
I'm like, okay, guys, I'm showing you I can hold this cardboard, by age 4, I'm like, you guys happy? Like, I'm not dropping it. And then after maybe not a month of that, but definitely over 2 weeks of that, which took a lot of patience as a 4-year-old. I'm like, okay, you see. Then I got, I believe, a plastic violin. And then, after a couple of weeks of showing that, I was respectful and, being very gentle with it and not dropping it, not throwing it. Yeah, I have some friends that threw expensive violins against the wall. Sidebar, this is horrible, but it's also kind of funny. Mostly horrible, but my dude's out, Bernard Herrmann.
Yeah.
As a 13-year-old, he broke his violin over his teacher's head.
Oh, whoa. Wow.
It's a true story.
Wow, that's crazy.
I love Bernard. Not necessarily for violence, but so then and eventually got an actual wooden violin, and took lessons from 4 until college, and I still take lessons, obviously. So yeah, age 4 I think is the long answer. And I really felt like this calling, and one of the blessings I've had in my life has been having depression.
Oh, really?
And
wow.
Both my parents, really bad depression, like worse than me. And I say it's a blessing because I think it's an opportunity. It's a potential opportunity. And that's just an attitude that I've chosen, or that I choose. I continually choose not to be flippant or dismissive of how difficult it could be, but because depression can be so overwhelming and difficult, I'm choosing not to succumb to it, and I'm choosing to investigate it and dialogue with it, and ask it questions from hopefully a selfless place. And because I am getting to that place, I don't really feel like I'm under the thumb of depression anymore. It's really served me. It's really taught me so much, and I'm so thankful for it. And it's carried over to me having appreciation for obstacles and difficulty in life, and learning that it doesn't have to be a prison sentence, and that if we really apply ourselves in certain ways, it can blossom to this amazing, fruitful garden that just keeps on bearing fruit, that not only lifts us up, but everyone around us. Opening up empathy to be able to empathize with other people, and even ourselves, and life forms other than just human beings. I definitely don't think we're the top of the totem pole. I don't relate to so many human beings think that we own the earth or something like that. I don't think that at all.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Really?
Yeah.
So I brought that up because I think your original question had to do with the connection to music, and it seemed like you were asking in a way that was connected to spiritualism and a deeper type of embracing of one's infinite self, and one's infinite emotions, actually even bigger than just our ego, because I do think we're part of a web of energy that is much more significant than just our egos or accomplishments or what we look like, or and any of those details. So because of the emotional reality of my beautiful parents struggling with their emotional life and winning a lot of the time, and other times not being able to break through, they just weren't available to me at times. And there's no knock on them. They're so available most of the time, and really providing an amazing life for me. But in the ways in which they weren't available, gave me an opportunity to try to figure things out by myself, via music mostly, and walking in the state park from an early age, and connecting with nature, you know, and being able to like really dialogue with nature, and then seeing nature in me. And so I've always had this backdrop of being able to feel that music is a way for me to try to heal myself, and not just heal myself, but like raise my vibration and try to feel a type of harmony with the multiverse. From, you know, and Topanga Canyon can definitely aid with that too. It's so beautiful up there.
Oh yeah.
You know, up in the canyon, or nature, really anywhere. So yeah, it's just so humbling. Just the infinity of it all, and just the layers of, you know, the inner life. It's like, wow, it really is infinite.
It's wild. Do you ever feel like in music, talking about infinity, do you ever feel like, obviously you recognize the patterns because every musician does, right? And you realize that there's geometry and stuff, right? And then you, at some point, you know, you realize that there's like, there's a mathematical sort of thing. And then, you know, as we get older, you know, people like you and I, we read about stuff and physics and, you know, acoustics and, you know, like frequencies and stuff, and how harmony relates to the geometrical science behind what makes that work with the frequencies and stuff. But it's like, sometimes I feel when I'm making music, or when I'm playing, especially when I'm learning music, especially when I'm learning how to play like Schubert or something, I feel like I'm locking into some sacred mathematical geometry of the universe. Do you ever get that kind of feeling?
Fuck yeah. I'm so thankful for that feeling. I mean, that's kind of the feeling. It's kind of like one of my favorite feelings, if not my favorite feeling. Yeah, and it's so cool how I think science is catching up to prove everything that you just said.
It's wild.
And I was born in 1980, and in my lifetime, I've seen science continue to develop in a way that can very succinctly explain some aspects of what you just said. And one aspect that's really just been more commonplace, what's the word? Neuroplasticity? How do you say it? Neuroplasticity?
Neuroplasticity, yeah.
Yeah. So that's an aspect of one of the many things you just hit upon. But that's a real thing.
Oh yeah, tell me about that.
Well, I can't tell you much from a scientific point. Pheromones is one aspect of it. And so science is proving that exactly what you're just talking about, specifically in the space of learning and discovering, there's, I think it's called pheromones, I could be wrong. Let's fact check this, but it's something. I think it's pheromones. These things grow when we're in that space. And these are things that connect various things that are working in our brain. And when we don't challenge ourselves, and when we don't learn new things that also involve joy and creativity, it shrinks, you know? So it's connective tissue in the brain. And so I think it might be factual to say that, I said I was born in 1980. Before 1980, science was already proving some of this, but I've noticed that in the last 10 years, it's like abundantly accepted. It's no longer taboo, you know? So, you know, I'm married to a scientist. I have scientists in my family. I've always loved science, and I really appreciate the approach to science where it's not viewed as some infallible truth. Wherever science is at on any given subject, it's an ever-expanding art.
Right, it's true.
Know? So just because science can't emphatically prove something that I feel to be true, doesn't stop me from feeling that there might be truth in it,
For sure. I mean, also all the science, until it's proven, the experiments are really only happening because someone believes that there's some truth. They got like some inkling of what it is they're trying to prove.
Right.
So,
Wow, I just had an epiphany as you were saying that so beautifully. What if our compositions are like scientific experiments?
I feel like they are.
I feel like they are. I know, like Gandhi has, I think he might have two autobiographies, but one of his autobiographies, the title is My Experiments with Truth or something like that. And I love that approach. It's like we can read whatever we read, and that's great. I'm so thankful that, I like to read books, and I have that curiosity. I want to learn. But ultimately, no one else is living my life, so I like to, I like to take people's opinions and stuff I read and just put in my back pocket. There's a quote that's been attributed to Aristotle that I think is being proven that it's not actually Aristotle, but it's a beautiful quote, and it's the mark of an educated mind is to have the ability to entertain a thought without accepting it.
Yeah.
I love that.
I love it.
More than one thing can be true.
By the way, you're very good at remembering quotes.
I mean, how do you know I'm not just making these things up?
You're creative, that's for sure.
I love quotes, dude. I mean, I have a collection of quotes that, it helps me.
Yeah.
They're little snacks. I'm like, okay, what does my body need right now? And it really helps me break through little impasses, throughout the day. I have on my phone, I have a list of like little mantras that I've created for myself that are amazing. I think we have to kind of be like a detective sometimes to figure out what works for us, like in a given season in our life or a given week or a given, moment. And like I say, no one else is living our life for us, so like we kind of have to romance ourselves and figure out, okay, how can I dance myself to some elevated ground? I'll take whatever I can get. It's like, man, I want to move forward.
Yeah. I want to ask you about something because you mentioned depression, right?
Yeah.
How old were you when you first realized that that's something that you struggle with?
I think I first felt suicidal when I was 5.
Wow. That's intense.
Yeah. And it just felt like really overwhelming and so confusing because I had a really great life in so many ways. So I felt guilt around it, I mentioned that my parents weren't available in certain ways, but they were mostly available. So I felt a certain amount of safety in my household. And it's interesting. I don't know what the truth is. What is more influential, nature or nurture? And I don't necessarily need an answer. I think nurture is more influential. My wife, who's a scientist, thinks the opposite. Maybe to each their own. Maybe there's more than one truth. Whatever the truth is, great. So it was. I didn't feel consistently suicidal as a kid or throughout my life, but it was more than just like a passing feeling. It was like some deep feelings of just being like, whoa, this is way too overwhelming for me. I don't know how to have the type of harmony and ease in life that is resonating with me, that makes me want to be alive.
Wow.
So that's a lot for anyone of any age, but especially as a 5-year-old. And it just felt so weird as a 5-year-old. I didn't really talk to anyone about it. I remember holding a knife to my gut at 6 in front of my brother. My brother's just like, bro, what are you doing?
Oh my God.
And yeah, so from an early age, I tried to just focus on positive things, to try to, as a young kid, that was the best that I could do. And I don't think anyone around me really understood that I was having emotional difficulties. I think they just saw that I was a fortunate kid to live in Topanga, to have music around me. We didn't have money, but we had enough money to like have a TV and live in a beautiful house. And I had both sides of my parents pull together resources in order for me to have instruments and, lessons, theory lessons, and music did make me feel better, and playing with Legos and doing sports. And so there was enough niceties, more than niceties. There was enough like really meaningful activities in my life that were more influential than my difficult emotions. But the difficult emotions were always there, and they did catch up, and I almost did take my life when I was 18. So there was a couple moments where it did feel between 5 and 18 where I did contemplate it, but I always pushed it away, because I'm like, no, life, there must be too many great things about life. Like, that's a crazy thought. Like, why would I? And I think kind of bully myself, kind of shame myself. Like, how dare I even think of that? How would that even be an option? Like, there's people that love me, and that would really hurt them, if I did that. And so I would just kind of push those feelings aside. And now as a functioning adult that would never want to take my life, I see how dismissing one's own emotions, or dismissing anyone's emotions, is not a good look. And it doesn't work.
Yeah.
It's almost like you're surfing a wave, and as you're surfing the wave, you're telling the wave, don't behave like a wave, or, it's like cursing the wave or telling the wave what to do. I think that's akin to dismissing emotions and not setting aside the right amount of space to dialogue with emotions. Even if we're not talking about depression, even if we're just talking about anything. And so I've really come to a place, that was one of the main things I walked away from once I had my biggest suicidal, it was more than ideation. I had a plan. And so once I made it through that was one of the things I had a huge rebirth, huge epiphany. And it was multi-layered, but one of the main layers of it that to this day is kind of the bedrock of, my psyche and my philosophy on life, is that emotions, even difficult to deal with emotions, they're not intrinsically bad. And so as a young person that did not have the skill set to learn how to communicate with my own feelings and learn how to not just deal with them, but appreciate them, the whole thing. What I would do is I would just push aside the emotions that I didn't know how to deal with.
Yeah.
And that's even with having loving parents and to a degree, talking about my feelings with them, my parents struggled with this stuff, and I'm so thankful for all the progress that's been made with mental health, and I mean, there's still just tons of ignorance and fear around the subject, but it seems to be, for the most part, way better than even, when my parents were, young people. So my heart really goes out to my parents and the stuff that they dealt with, and it's horrific, the history of mental illness, and I mean, it's the things that have been done to people that are struggling. It's just so horrific. I'm so grateful that things are moving relatively in a good direction. But yeah, back to this big epiphany I had was that our emotion, I mean, this is just my opinion. I don't know how much truth is in it, but it's been serving me significantly. And it seems to be true to me, at least in my life. And I try to afford the same type of love and respect of other people's feelings. And I'm able to do, I think, a lot of good in this world because of that. And I'm able to support the shit out of people because I have like a lot of reverence for people's feelings and emotions. And I think that it helps us get to that place beyond ego too, which I think is a really harmonious place. So yeah, my epiphany was that all emotions are there to actually protect us.
Oh, yeah. But
we have to be really good stewards and create the right space to basically hug out the emotions and to like really dialogue with them. And I think just the act of dialoguing with our own emotions, and not just emotions, but just, all these aspects of our being and life around us, dialoguing with them from a place of curiosity, and not, no repression, no suppression, no bullying, but like really trying to like dialogue with these emotions and ask them like, okay, well, why are you here? Why are you here? What is your purpose? What are you here to show me? Because before having this big epiphany I had at age 18, I thought that emotions were static. And that's an interesting and I think very profound and very influential thought. And again, I don't know what the truth is, but I know how I felt. And when I was in a depression, or when I was in like a certain feeling, it felt like a prison and it felt static as fuck. So it seemed like it was static as a young person. But as I learned how to make the right efforts in life to embrace my dreams and basically learn how to take responsibility for my own feelings and my dreams, then I saw how if I'm not being responsible, yeah, the feeling's going to remain because it hasn't been dealt with. So you could define that as static. But once I learned how to be more responsible, then even a feeling that felt shitty, it would blossom into something, it would transform as I learned how to create space to take responsibility for it and to not give it power over me.
Yeah. But I'm getting a sense from you that you were saying that these feelings or emotions were trying to communicate something to you that you had to take notice of. What was that specifically for you?
Really all my emotions, because I feel like I was kind of lazy to a degree. I wasn't taking enough responsibility for my life itself, meaning that I think I was giving my life like 70 to at most 90% effort. And that's great, but that's not the type of effort that works for where I want to go with my life.
Do you mean like with the music stuff as well?
indirectly. I say indirectly because I started writing symphonic music from age 6. You know,
You're a prodigy.
I've been a very, I wouldn't go that far.
Oh, you are.
But I've been a very passionate artist my whole life, and I've been studying tradition in order not to replicate it, but to try to add something interesting to it. You know, I see it as a discussion throughout antiquity. You know, I feel like we're having a discussion right now that's so transcendent. It's connected to the infinite, you know, river. What does Martin Luther King Jr. say? He says, yeah, the dim mist of eternity. I love that phrase, the dim mist of eternity. So it's like we're part of this, you know, flow of life. But yeah, I was taking a lot of responsibility for like music, and then everything beneath it, I was definitely taking some responsibility, but not to the depth that it takes, I've learned, at least for me, to realize the type of harmony and joy, you know, and sustainability that I want and need. Does that answer your question a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, what I'm really wondering is like when because you're being very modest, but you are a prodigy, and like when you were young, you must have had like you know an easy, like it was easy for you to get started in music. You know, you had the aptitude for it. And were you coasting ever and not really feeling it? Or because you just, it was so easy, or did you actually give it your all? That's kind of what I mean.
Well, there's not like one short answer, because I've always felt struggle. I think I'm a natural pianist. I like my string playing a lot. But I don't think I'm a natural string player.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's wild.
Yeah. There's something about the piano. I mean, I think the piano is also an easier instrument in a lot of ways than a lot of string instruments, at least on a superficial level or just, you know, a fundamental level. Once you obviously go deep, there's no escaping anything. Right. You know, everywhere you go, there you are. Yeah. But so I've always felt struggle. I was somebody that always got scholarships and, you know, like winning stuff. But I didn't have the drive to practice enough that would have, you know, people call me a prodigy. Now, looking back, you know, now it's kind of easy, I think, to, you know, maybe call me a prodigy. But at the time, even though I was winning stuff and, you know, sitting first chair and stuff like, I wasn't necessarily a prodigy. I was like really talented, and like I think people thought I was like really intelligent or something. But yeah, there was a lot of struggle, and there was no coasting, but a certain type of quiet arrogance that I think bit me in the ass, because I wasn't so impressed with myself, but yes, I didn't have to practice in certain ways that other people around me did have to practice to get to. But then later really bit me in the ass because I didn't have the muscle memory of mastery that can only come with practicing incessantly. So I did practice every day, you know, by high school, you know, close to 3 hours a day, you know. But have you ever heard this approach to mastering in life where people will say something along the lines of, don't practice until you get it right, practice until you can't get it wrong.
Oh, interesting.
And, you know, obviously, like with everything, that has to be, you know, for it to not be a toxic negative, because that could be a toxic negative thing too, if not practiced in the right way. But just even contemplate about, well, what does that mean, you know, for me on this day, or even that can be very positive. So I've now in my more mature, older adult life, it really serves me now. But yeah, so there was some coasting, I guess, you know, because there weren't a lot of people writing music for orchestras at that age, you know, and, you know, I was I really liked the music I was writing back then. Actually, Kendrick Lamar just rapped over something I did in high school.
Whoa, amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't been released, but I mean, it was good enough, for an adult artist that, is sophisticated to be like, oh, I want to rap on that, or, I want to do something with that. It was like my high school project. That was high school, but anyway, I'm not really answering your questions as deeply as I want to, but I'm hitting upon aspects of it.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, what did you say? Everywhere you are, that's where you are, right?
Everywhere, yeah.
So, the thread of that, what I'm sort of putting a story together in my head, though, right? So you got the depression, okay, but you're also like prodigious with the music, but it's also a struggle for you, right?
Yeah.
But it's also kind of like some kind of tonic against the depression, I imagine, right?
Yeah.
But then at some point, does the struggle of the music start turning against itself? Because like, even though it's like helping you with the depression, at any point, did it actually make it worse because you're struggling?
Yes. Probably in multiple ways. One specific way is stage fright.
Oh, wow.
I started to develop insane stage fright because of this insane pressure I was putting on myself, combined with not preparing correctly.
Yeah. How did you get yourself out of that?
I'm still working on it. That's why I went more towards jazz, because when I improvised, I wasn't nervous.
Oh.
And now here I am, 45 years old, and I still struggle with stage fright in classical settings. In non-classical settings, I can play for millions of people, and it's just excitement. It's not stage fright. But I haven't located the thought within me that is the culprit. But I'm enjoying the process of trying to suss it out and dig it out. And I love Western European classical music too much not to play it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, a lot of chamomile tea, no caffeine the day of, and that really adds up. Lots of affirmations, and man, I've tried fucking everything, and I have my self-respect. It's I don't think my stage fright comes from actually being scared of what people think of me. There's also like a physiology. I have like a thyroid issue. I take thyroid medication. So like, I just get really excited. And I could always be more prepared, but I do feel very prepared. So anyway, that's one example.
Wow. That's interesting. With that stuff, whether it's like, is there a process that you actually have on a daily level?
Yeah.
Yeah, what is that?
So it's what saved my life, really. So I've been a practicing Buddhist for 27 years.
Wow.
And, there's so many different schools of Buddhism. The one that I've really resonated with is not necessarily the most sexy one. I think, I just don't give a fuck. It's like, I want to have breakthroughs, and I want to do like what works for me, so I think, what's the most sexy or alluring is, like the most old school styles where, you're in a robe and you're doing zazen, and you're really going through the most austere practices. Kudos to everyone or anyone that wants to do that. I've done that before, and it's been amazing. It's not something that I want to have as a daily practice. The daily practice that has resonated with me is a chanting practice, the SGI, the Soka Gakkai International. It's Nichiren Daishonin Buddhism. There's various schools of Nichiren Daishonin Buddhism. He was a priest that lived in Japan 900 years ago. And I just absolutely love this practice, and it works for me. And I'm somebody that loves to study anything and everything. And I just think that there's so much truth and beauty and relevant information and perspectives in most of the world's philosophies, and different strokes for different folks, and different things might speak to us at different times. But yeah, this is a very user-friendly practice. It's a lay Buddhist organization, so there's no one in robes. Nothing wrong with robes. I'm just saying that these are just like common everyday people that have taken this practice and kind of applied it to modern day society. And the visceral act of chanting is just so cathartic.
How does it work?
So I chant twice a day.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a mantra, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, and then we chant part of the Lotus Sutra, which is the last teaching. Sutra means teaching. The last teaching that Shakyamuni Buddha, the original Buddha that lived in India 2,000 years ago, his teachings were after he died collected into essentially books. They made books. I mean, that didn't have. The first one was probably 150 to 200 years after Shakyamuni died. But there's these beautiful teachings, and there's a whole wide variety. I mean, the stuff that he was espousing, I mean, he lived till he was 80. The last 8 years of his life, that was compiled to the Lotus Sutra. And so my Buddhist practice is based off the Lotus Sutra. There's all these other beautiful sutras too, but and some of the sutras from the beginning of his teachings, he had his first enlightenment under the Bodhi tree when he was 35 or something like that. And then he spent the next 45 years of his life just going around teaching. And so those are what was compiled into the sutras. Some of the early sutras have something in common with the last sutras, but there's also just like complete difference in what he said. I mean, he's like, forget about everything I said before, just listen to this. I mean, he said that many times.
Amazing.
I mean, hey, that's great. He's, growing. But yeah, so that's been my thing. So I chant twice a day, and if I'm like really busy, I might only chant 5 minutes in a day, and it's definitely about quality over quantity. Nichiren Daishonin said, chant to your heart's content. I mean, it's basically a way of meditating and praying. So I have a mandala that I chant in front of. It's called a Gohonzon, and yeah.
Other than the translated meaning of the words that you're chanting,
yeah,
does the resonance of your voice in your body and your awareness of that, do you know, going back to science, do you know what the science of that is? What is that doing for you?
Yeah, helping me get a grip.
But how does it work? Like, how does it make you do that?
Well, I'll speak on behalf of myself. So there's something for a person such as me that has felt unstable. So having a regiment that I commit to, in my daily life, and a philosophy, I'm not like a sheep type of person. So just, even though like I love this practice, I don't just believe something that someone tells me to believe. So I personally do believe most, not everything, that the SGI espouses. But so for me, just having the solidity of a practice creates mastery in my life for me. Like using a fork, I don't really have to think about using a fork, So the same with like this meditational practice. So it's a way for me to create a pathway of connectivity to my infinite self. And obviously music does that for us, and I really admire your yoga practice. I think yoga for certain does that. And I love Qigong, which is like a chilled out version of Tai Chi. I mean, Tai Chi is chill, but Qigong is even more chill than that. But I think there's something undeniably that's unmistakable, that's irreplaceable, that has to do with committing to something and having a regimen. There's something really beautiful about that, and it doesn't necessarily have to be hours and hours. Like if I'm really busy on a certain day and I'm like traveling or something, I might just only chant for 5 minutes, but I just instantaneously connect to source. I think it's about finding a way to rejuvenate, our spirit, and to carve out a place that feels safe to us, to dive into the most difficult shit of our life.
Does your work ever do that for you?
For sure. It consistently does. But while it's similar, it's also different. And I think it's been helpful for me, and I don't think this is like universally like, I don't think there's a best way other than, there's something about like honesty, I think, is irreplaceable, but honesty from within, so for me, I'm able to get to a certain place emotionally and energetically only because of the chanting and the way that I do it, and also like the philosophy behind it. There's all these like incredibly empowering, uplifting teachings, and thankfully, that's given me confidence and an interest to study everything, because I don't feel religious. Like I don't feel like my practice is like better than someone else's practice or something, or I don't have like some secret agenda to proselytize or to bring people into my cult or something like that. I wish people happiness. And I think happiness is such an inside job, and it's such a personal thing. What works for me could be unhealthy for somebody else, and vice versa. So I just want to give people the vote of confidence. What's up.
Yeah, that's well said. When you listen to music, right, or when you compose music, actually both sides. This question is on both sides, right? As a listener and also as a creator. What do you feel from music?
A lot of good news. Yeah, I feel like, I didn't use the word yet, alienated, but I felt so alienated most of my life, even with having the good friend of music. But as I've learned how to like clear some space within myself in order to like open up channels of connectivity, I feel way less alienated, and I don't really feel alienated these days. But music has been like such a good friend. So I feel like there's a lot of good news with music. I feel like in the arts, here's a way to talk about it. I like how subjective art is. I don't want to tell people how to feel via my words or via my art. And specifically with my art, I've worked really hard at creating art that can be looked at and enjoyed from many different viewpoints and emotional places. And that's what I want, And so I think that when I hear music, I hear potential connective avenues to my own infinite self. And so I feel like there's a lot of support in art and in music. So when I listen to music, even music I don't like, I feel a lot of good news, and I feel like there's a chance for people to create more like harmony in the world, and music tells me that. I think it's so pleasurable And I think that the joy connected through music or art is it's like it's telling us, yeah, shit might be really hard and difficult and overwhelming and scary at times in life, but not only is that okay, you can actually enjoy the act of working it out.
Oh,
you know, like my hero, one of my many heroes is John Coltrane, and he said, there's fun in being serious.
Oh, yeah.
And obviously, you know, he means it a specific way. You know, obviously, I'm sure we've both been around many people that are like overly serious, and it sucks out the joy in a room, or it's almost like they're not understanding like what life is about or something. Like, you know, I think, you know, even though I've spent so much time talking about, you know, depression, I don't feel depressed anywhere near that. Like I feel very free, and I certainly don't feel suicidal anymore. But I feel like yeah, I mean, I'm putting in the work though.
Yeah.
You know, I consistently feel good because like I've really put in so much. Like, there's no faking the funk, right? It's just like you really have to, it's almost like the universe decides when you get to have an epiphany, or, you know, I guess we have a lot of say in it. You know, we can influence that process, but I like, for instance, how I don't have complete control over everything in my life. I like how I get to influence. I feel so much benevolence in the multiverse, that the multiverse is allowing me to have a major say in my own participation with my own life.
I mean, it's super fun. I mean, if you had all the answers, it wouldn't be that fun, would it?
I mean, earlier I was talking about like asking questions. It's like, yeah, it's just not fun. It's like you think you know everything, or just even think you know a lot. I mean, if you think you know something, then how are you supposed to have room to learn more?
Right, exactly. Right, exactly. I feel a lot when I listen to music, and sometimes one of the things that I feel is something that I can't really put in words, which is, I guess, what the point of music is. But one of these things I wanted to ask you about it, to see if you feel something about it, and I want to know what you feel, and I want to know if you actually know the technical explanation for why this happens. So, you know, my favorite composer is Beethoven. You know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You know, I'm obsessed, right? I mean, so many of his pieces have very, very interesting things going on. Like, they're very subtle things. Like, so like in Moonlight Sonata, right? You know, when it goes to the turnaround, whatever it's called.
In the slow movement, in the famous second movement?
Yeah, exactly. You know the part where it goes dun, 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 right? So there's a rhythmic thing happening there where it's like, I don't even know if you can actually measure where that note is coming, like if it can actually be tabulated in sheet music, or if it's just something that each player kind of approximates based on, you know, what they feel. But there is something about the placement of that note. You know the one I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, but it only on a superficial level right now. I think it's like maybe like 35 seconds towards the end, or like 45 seconds towards the end.
Yeah, there's, you know, like after the main you know how the first section is dun da 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 dun da da da, then it turns around and goes a bit dark, and it just goes dun da da dun dun dun,
yeah,
right? And in that section, the notes are all delayed. Like, they're not all delayed consistently. They're like delayed, like it's just like one note comes and it's just like a hair late. It's not like, you can't even call it a 30-second note, you know? It's something, but it's something that is not measurable, right? And it's in the expression of the player.
It's a performance practice. I'm almost certain that I understand what you're talking about. Were you going to say something else?
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, like, it's so genius because every time I hear that piece performed, it's always exciting to me because of the way whoever's playing it interprets how to play those notes in that area. And every time I get chills, and more than getting chills, I feel that cosmic something.
Yeah, it's cosmic as fuck.
Right? Well, so what's going on? And do you feel that too?
Yeah, for sure. And Beethoven's been my favorite composer for like the past 10, 15 years. So first it was Bach, and I named my son after Bach, Sebastian J.S. Bach. And John Coltrane's probably been my favorite modern musician for the last 30 years. But Beethoven has been my overall favorite musician for probably 15, 20 years. But so I think it's a combination of a couple of different things you're talking about. One major thing, so there's Beethoven's utter genius as a human being, I think, first, and as a pianist and as a composer and someone that is just like incredibly emotional and spiritual. So there's that, which is I guess the main thing, in my opinion. I said the phrase performance practice because that's a major aspect of what I think makes what Beethoven wrote personal to the performer and then personal to the listener. So I'm somebody that loves groove and loves written out stuff. I love it all. And one thing that I consistently experience, I was experiencing this a couple of days ago, was rehearsing with a genius jazz musician, John Escreet, and just an incredible jazz pianist that has a bit of a Western European classical background and is married to a classical keyboardist. But he's such a rhythmic genius. I run into this a lot with people that who spend most of their time. I'm talking about musicians, like professional musicians that spend most of their time playing groove-based music. And this is no knock on anybody, but almost across the board, in my experience, people that spend most of their time playing groove-based music, whether it's danceable grooves or jazz grooves, whatever type of groove, consistent groove, where there's a pocket that there's a consistency of time, and you're locked in. One of my favorite things in life, those people often are incapable of doing this thing. It just takes time, but initially it's so bewildering. So this moment that you're talking about in Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata slow movement, my understanding is that what makes it so amazing is that it's actually not in a danceable groove. I mean, you can obviously you can dance to it, but you know what I'm trying to say. It's like it's a different type of groove.
Yeah.
And there's rubato, which comes from the Italian verb rubar, to steal.
Oh.
But in the classical in the Western European classical practice of stealing time, you give it back. So there's this beautiful. I think it's like dancing. It's like just you're having just such an intimate moment with your partner, and you're like losing yourself in their smell, in their pheromones, and dancing and swaying, and it's like you're conversing with the multiverse. You take some time and you just enjoy this little, time here and there. Western European classical music is a lot like that, and obviously you can have some rock and roll grooves in classical music too, but I think it's that type of swaying, of just taking a little time here and there. I mean, I don't think we would enjoy Mahler like how we enjoy Mahler or obviously Beethoven, if there wasn't that rubato, so taking some time. So I think that's a major aspect of what I think that moment that you're talking about. it's like taking a little bit of time, and it's like where does the danceable groove go? You're kind of like in this cosmic ocean, but there's like this pull in that is just so delectable, and there's pain, and there's just like this ecstatic joy in that it's almost like simultaneously saying goodbye to life and saying hello to life at the same time. And if you just played that Moonlight Sonata movement completely in time, in consistent time, be okay. Be a little bit cool. You know, but it wouldn't have like all that meaning. So I don't really know how else to explain it.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly, you explained it really well. I mean, because that's what I feel. I feel like there's an ocean in that drop, you know?
There's an ocean in that drop. I'll go with that.
You know, it's wild. Like, I really like it. Just, it's a moment. And in that moment, I feel everything.
Yeah.
You know? And I also feel like there's some cosmic truth in that moment because, you know, like of existence in some way, because like your heartbeat does that. Your heartbeat isn't like quantized, right? It'll every now and then it'll rhubarb, you know?
Yes. That's it. Yeah. I think it comes back to the heartbeat and breathing, but there's no breathing without the heartbeat.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you said it perfectly. It's like so romantic. It's everything. And then when I go back to like, you know, danceable groove music, it's even more delectable. You know, so I wouldn't want to have a life constrained to just, you know, one type.
Okay, although I'm going to be devil's advocate for 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so I mean, there's no one groovier than James Brown, right? And like his music has swing. Like it's not consistent. Like if you take a James Brown track and you put it in like modern DJ thing, you can't really put a beat over it, you know, because it swings so much, you know. And a lot of modern hip hop and, you know, other kind of groove based music tries to recreate that groove, which it does, but it repeats it the same way every 8 bars, and it doesn't have the unpredictability that actually the live band that James Brown had. And this is something that I go back and forth on. What's your view on that?
I'm happy for the diversity of expression. So you may or may not know I'm obsessed with Jay Dilla. You want to know who Jay Dilla's dude was?
James Brown.
James Brown.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that was, you know, that's what his mom said. When he was a kid, he was just obsessed with James Brown. So Jay Dilla, the great hip-hop producer that passed away almost 20 years ago today, last month, 20 years ago, had a very short life, lived to about 32 years old, died from complications of lupus. His shit was not quantized. He played everything into his MPC, and he played different instruments. Played cello in junior high.
Wow.
And then in his adult life, it was mostly keyboards, bass, drums, and I don't know what else. And he would program mostly or exclusively using an MPC. And he redefined not just hip hop, but modern music. I mean, that's how, like Coltrane, like James Brown, these people are influencing every genre. And specifically, it was the feel.
Yeah.
It's the feel. You know, it's whatever genre, it's the feel. You know, even if we're doing like, you know, some feels are supposed to be really quantized and like really, There's a meditational quality that can come across, right? With Philip Glass, or somebody that I'm not a Philip Glass expert, but it seems like one of the beautiful aspects of his music is the predictability of certain things, and that's so straight. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
It drives me nuts if I listen to too much of it, but I also love it, yeah, he's dope. But yeah, so I certainly feel you. I think a lot of it has to do with how comfortable do we feel with vulnerability. And what's worked for me is learning how to be responsible with my vulnerability. And then that gives me confidence to be vulnerable. And the more that I learn how to be responsibly vulnerable and expand, then I need this more vulnerable music because it's echoing, it's cheering me on. And I've never really been been attracted to being closed off or not exploring, but I would venture a guess that if I would just want, more pedestrian, music that didn't have more layers, and it's just, predictable and bland. And yes, I know what's going on with. Yeah, I want to ask questions. I want to feel, I want to dance with the multiverse. And when I listen to really creative music, that's not just random. Like randomness is also not appealing to me. Well, but no, that's not true. I don't believe in randomness, but maybe I'll explain it with this Bill Evans quote, the great jazz pianist, who sounds classical as fuck. He has this amazing YouTube video I recommend checking out. He's in Helsinki, Finland, in I believe it's 1970. Eddie Gomez, and I don't know if it's Marty Morell on drums, but it's a house concert with his trio. They're on just like peak game. They're just like murdering everything. Amazing, so beautiful, and it's a really cool video because in between songs he gets interviewed in this like house concert setting. And Bill Evans is so articulate, with everything he does, with his words and with his artistry. And even though he comes across very straight to me, he was definitely not very straight in a lot of ways, and also very open-minded in a lot of ways, in my opinion. And so anyway, one of the questions asked to him is, Mr. Evans, how do you feel about avant-garde jazz? And it's such a great question for him. And I love his answer. And it's a bit harsh, but I think there's a lot of love and truth in his answer. And he says, yeah, I love avant-garde jazz, but, he said something along the lines of that it takes more responsibility to play something that's like further out, because he says otherwise you just sound like a crying baby.
That's so true, actually. Wow.
And hey, I love the sound of a crying baby to an extent. I can obviously stomach the cries of my own child much more. Well, not obviously, but that's how I feel more than other children a lot of the time, or most of the time. But anyway, you get the point I'm going for. Is like it takes responsibility with what you're saying and with what we're saying as artists. And I find that there's a sweet spot of taking care and responsibility so that it's not just well-intentioned. We have the ability to say something that has architecture, that has relevance, that is multi-dimensional. So it's like, insane amounts of responsibility behind the things that we're saying. But if we get to a place of being too controlling or too small-minded, to me, that's actually irresponsible. And so to each their own. I'm not trying to say there's a right or wrong way. I'm just saying that what I'm interested in is where there's this responsibility and, architecture, but not knowing as well, and questions and mistakes on purpose. Like this album that I just made, I left mistakes on purpose, perfection, how would you define perfection? Is it a man-made term? Like what is perfection?
I don't know what perfection is, but I have a good David Bowie quote, which is not really answering your question, but he said, like, the difference between an artist and a craftsman is that the artist knows when to stop.
Wow. That's interesting. Yeah. I wish I could ask him follow-up questions.
What would you ask?
Well, so one approach to creating art that I just really love, that really seems to work for me, is without creating fluff, just be fucking prolific, like create a lot. And then what I want to share, with the world, I can cherry pick.
Right.
So that's one thing that I really relate to. And anything I create, there's like great intentionality. So I'm not just like randomly, creating without really putting my soul into it. I mean, it's very thoughtful stuff. But so that would be one follow-up question is like, okay, so does that quote mostly apply to like what somebody releases? I would guess yes. I don't know.
I think he meant, I'm not sure, but I think he meant it more like a work of art. Because every artist, especially when they're finding their feet, goes through a period where they aren't fully confident and they keep changing, like, I'm going to tweak this mix, or I'm going to add this arrangement, or I'm going to do this thing. And it's like, and every morning you wake up and you got a new idea and you keep changing it. And like that piece could never be finished, if you want,
I see. Okay.
But he's saying like the point where you decide it's finished. I brought this up kind of in reference to your thing about perfection.
Yeah.
It's not so much about perfection as it is of the artist saying, this is what I'm putting my stamp on, and saying, this is my finished work.
Yeah, I'm down with that. Yeah. For me, to the depth of which I'm committing is everything. And I think that's related to this, what we're talking about. Yeah. The ways in which I am neurotic and have gaping holes in my personality and psyche, or I don't want to foolishly try to comfort myself by just like a lot of like plastic surgery and trying to cover up, I want to proudly like show my blemishes, and not because I am saying that I'm destined to my ignorance, but because I'm celebrating this this moment in time where I'm at. And that's really the only thing that really gives me the rock solid confidence to put out music, because I know I'm growing. Not that I'm not proud of what I put out, but if I just stayed at this level of where I'm at as a human being, I don't think I would feel good with putting out music. But I'm like, okay, I'm gonna grow a lot, And whatever the music is that comes as a result of me growing, that's the music I want. So it's who I am as a person first. You know, my life is, I'm convinced that's the art. The music is secondary.
I love that.
Amazing. I think that might be just how it is. I could be wrong.
Was that your your album, Le Jardin Mystique, is just, it's phenomenal, first of all.
Thank you.
It's beautiful. But also, beyond being like actually really good, it's just so impressive with the amount of what it is as well. And to have that much flow of idea. How did you go about making that album? What was your process? And like all this stuff that we've just been talking about now, like how did that play into it?
Yeah. Thanks for asking. So I love working for other people, and I love doing my own stuff under my own name. And I think my main thing is I'm a composer. You know, I love playing various instruments, but I think I'm mostly a composer. I love arranging music. I've never come across an instrument I don't like. You know, I think synthesizers are organic instruments. I think it's, I'm not saying that there's any substitute for wood, but I think it's up to how we use any instrument, you know? So Le Jardin Mystique was just like for my sanity. You know, I know so many people that played on so many more albums than me, so I definitely don't think numbers are really impressive at all. I'm not impressed by numbers, and I don't think they necessarily mean what people think they might mean, you know. But after working on 600 albums, which is that I've worked on 600 or 700 albums in my life so far. Wow. You know, many of my peers have probably worked on, I don't know, closer to 30,000 albums or something. You know, people are doing, you know, triple sessions, you know, numerous times a week, you know, for decades, you know. But a lot of the albums I've worked on, I was, you know, putting orchestras on every song, or, you know, doing a lot of production, which, you know, takes hundreds of hours, you know. So after working so much for other people, which I sincerely love, I want to do for the rest of my life as well, and not having my own album, I spent my life savings on it, which is not a lot, but I just took my time. That's why it took me 14 years. I wasn't consistently working for 14 years, but it was just a session here, session there, and pretty soon I had 500 hours of original music, more like 250, but I have to reverse everything. Because you never know what's there.
Wow, that's wild.
And then you fuck with the speed.
Wow, that's what I was hearing.
and then I orchestrate on top.
Wow.
So it's for my mental and spiritual, emotional well-being that I made that album. Really hoping that some people might like it, but I had to get to that place of, you know, not being an arrogant prick about it, because I'm not impressed with myself, but just being like, I have to make this just to feel free, you know. So I would love to win some Grammys in my lifetime, but I'm not trying to win Grammys, you know. Blessings to, you know, all the people out there that are trying to win Grammys. I hope they win. I'm sure they can. But and I don't think it's bad, you know, to win awards, but that wasn't my goal. You know, I'm not trying to be popular. I'm not trying to prove anything. It was really just kind of like challenging myself, like, how much can I try to come up with some music that's speaking to me, that doesn't have to be even that great, but just as sincere. I was trying to challenge my sincerity. And yeah, obviously make it as good as I possibly can, but really giving myself a present of wanting to enjoy the process And I did. And before, during, and after. And really trying to... I'm a recovering perfectionist. So like growing up, I think I used to be more of a now it's like, man, fuck that. I mean, obviously it's just such a mind fuck. Like, I mean, what? And so I was curious, like, what is perfection? You know? And so if I was to answer that, I would be like, well, sincerity.
Oh yeah.
You know, that's maybe not the only definition, but maybe that's one aspect of it that is speaking to me. You know, authenticity, lovingly calling oneself out. You know, being like, okay, so if this is how you feel, like, what are you going to do about it? You know, so I was just trying to have fun and share. One of my mentors told me a couple of decades ago, share what you love. So I would try to have some diversity there. The concept behind it has to do with, I think we're each mystical gardens. Le Jardin Mystique, French for the mystical gardens. I think we're each a mystical garden. And I like comparing human beings to gardens because to me it helps me navigate this, what I think is an imbalance of human beings thinking that we're like more important than life itself, or more important than other life forms, or that we own this planet. Like, I mean, these are vibes that I get from a lot of human beings, and I don't see any truth in that. I don't relate to that. It doesn't make sense to me. I think this is just a miracle, and I mean, I don't think I'm more important than a rock.
Right.
I mean, rocks are beautiful, and I think they communicate. I mean, even if they don't communicate, they're beautiful. They're amazing. Like, everything has purpose. Everything has...
they hold vibration, and vibration has meaning.
Yes. And...
Or consciousness.
I mean, yeah. So I don't relate to hierarchies. You know, I can see, like, when we're caught up with our egos or like really insecure, how alluring hierarchies and all, you know, bullshit labels and judgment, like, it's just a farce.
Yeah.
In my opinion. And so the whole concept of Le Jardin Mystique is I'm saying, look, I think we're way more beautiful than we tend to realize. I think we're each pieces of the puzzle of creating harmony on this planet. And I said the word mystical because I think there's something that's just so mind-blowing with reality, beyond like this egocentric, human-centric trapping that a lot of us have on the planet. And so I'm basically, through sympathetic vibration, just trying to bring out people's awesomeness, you know, because I intrinsically think everyone's awesome. I don't think people come out of the womb being, you know, a rapist or a murderer or, you know, a hateful person. I think that's learned behavior, and I think we can unlearn that stuff. So, but with all that said, you know, this is just me because, you know, you're my brother and we're talking about it, but that's just all the unspoken. Like, I don't want to be dogmatic, and I, you know, I don't want to.
That's beautiful.
You know, but that's just the unspoken. Those are just some of my intentionality imbued in the music. So yeah, it's just music nerdery. That's just what the album is. It's just some music geek shit that I'm definitely trying to tell a story and have it be diverse, and there's tons of thoughtfulness there. But yeah, it's just a fun project, you know, as I'm working for all these beautiful people, just kind of just doing a session for myself here and there. And then, yeah, just trying to have fun.
What made you wait so long to compile it? Like, why didn't you put out like a shorter album when you had 10 hours of music, let's say?
Because it didn't feel right. I definitely thought about that, and definitely the label wanted me to, and people tried, but part of me, I'm not necessarily proud of this, but part of me also wanted to go against the grain, not from being overtly petty, but also I'm like, look I'm not a dime a dozen. And again, I don't say it because I'm like, I don't think I'm better or less than anybody. And I'm not impressed with myself, but I also kind of want to scare off people that don't want to fuck with it.
That's really smart.
I mean, that's not the main reason, but the main reason is just that it didn't feel right for what I was trying to say.
Right.
So this really feels right to me. 3 volumes, I'm still a long ways away, volume 2 and volume 3 being complete, but I have the architecture there. I have, most of the tracks are, I think that's a true statement. Most of the tracks for each album, but this need a lot of work. So
incredible. You brought this Herbie Hancock record in with you today. Tell me about that and what it means to you.
Yeah, so I think it's a really magical album. So it's live in Japan. It's called Flood. And Herbie's one of the reasons why I guess I'm alive, because he practices the same Buddhism that I do, and he shared the practice with my friend that eventually shared it with me. So I feel like I kind of feel like he's my spiritual grandfather in a certain way. And I absolutely adore his artistry. He's one of the biggest influences on me. And this album is it has a magic to it, in my opinion, that I've never really heard anywhere else. It's a peak album in a certain way. And I don't even know if this album is in like my top 10 favorite albums. It probably isn't, but I think it's kind of silly to kind of compare, so just for what it is, it has a, I said the word perfect earlier. To me, it's kind of a perfect album in a sense because it's so well balanced. It starts off with solo piano, and then the band comes in, and the way that Herbie starts a lot of concerts off by improvising, I really appreciate that type of. It sounds like he's conversing with the multiverse without telling the multiverse anything, and he's not just so lost that he's just asking aimless questions. It's the particular balance that he has. He does that a lot, where he'll start off a concert solo piano, and I asked him about it once because he goes into Maiden Voyage, like one of his first hits, and I asked him one time, and I kind of felt like an idiot because his answer was so simple and made so much sense. I kind of felt embarrassed for asking him, but I asked him, like, why do you start so many concerts off with Maiden Voyage? And he's like, because it's just like a really open song. But I like the way how he approaches that openness. It's like there's a certain balance, I think, that it's just really delectable to me, whether it's in an improvisation like that, or in a conversation like this, or in a composition that we're writing. Or it's like bringing enough to the table to have solidity. It's kind of like cooking. Do you like to cook?
I love cooking.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I everything that we're talking about, I relate back to, cooking. It's so applicable to everything I think we're talking about. But are you the type of cook where you bring the intentionality of being excited about cooking a certain meal, combined with maybe trying to provide your body with what your body's asking for, and then also combining that all with fucking around? Like, I love, there's like a beautiful combination of attributes there that I really like, and I try to bring it to conversations and to really everything I do. So it's like, because when I say, you know, like messing around, it's playful, and with that playfulness, that's how I discover. I mean, I make mistakes too, but that's how I discover things I would have never discovered. Like, oh, let me mess around with putting some of this mustard in the salad dressing with a little apple cider. Let me just, you know, mess around. And I didn't have that intentionality, or the consciously. I had the intentionality. I want to make a salad and then salad dressing. But then it's like messing around. And so Herbie does that with the intro, with that song, and then the band comes in. And it's just, they're just on. You know, we talked a lot about like jazz and classical music and composition and improvisational things and groove. And this album it's mostly groove, but it has a lot of these elements that we're talking about. So, umami. There's a umami there. Yeah, it's the energy on that album is just like really, really fly. It's great. I mean, the rhythmic playing on that album.
Oh yeah.
Like Paul Jackson, not Paul Jackson Jr., the guitarist, but Paul Jackson, the bassist.
Yeah.
This is so amazing. I mean, I've never heard anyone play that I mean, even my hero Jaco Pastorius, he has a lot in common with Paul Jackson, the bassist, but Paul Jackson is just so melodious and so rhythmic and so free. And then Mike Clark on drums and Benny Maupin on woodwinds. It's a pretty fun album.
Amazing.
Yeah, but that was very influential on me, especially when I was in college. So yeah, I appreciate, you know, I would love to hear some of your hallmark albums throughout your life that like really either defined an era for you or defined a part of your development, you know, and that's one of them for me.
Oh, incredible. Yeah, there's so many for me. I you know, my favorite artist, you know, is Prince, and David Bowie I love. But my favorite album of all time is Grace by Jeff Buckley. Do you know this album?
Not well.
It's just mind-blowing. And, you know, he only made one album. He died young. He was a tragic death. He drowned. But there is like, I feel like God is singing through this album. You know, it's really something special. And I also, like, if he had lived on, I don't completely get the feeling that, like, he would have made more records like that. Like, I feel like it was just a one-off, you know? And I not just for him, but for artists. Like, I mean, you know, as much as I love Prince, like, I love Prince, and I'm not, like, saying compare, you know, but, like, there is not one album that Prince has made in its entirety that, to me, taps into some kind of universal spiritual truth the way this album does. Like, it's wild. So that's what it is for me. And it's not even a genre of music I'm particularly fond of as a genre, but it's just, he just got it, like, there was something channeling through that. So that's that one for me.
Undeniable.
Yeah, undeniable. And his voice is just unbelievable. I mean, he was just like, I'll send you some stuff. Like, it's something really special. I mean, you know, like, I like rock, but I'm not like a huge rock guy, you know? And this is not, you can't really call this rock, this music. I don't know really what it falls into, but broadly speaking, it would be like a rock kind of or an indie rock kind of thing, but it's just like
It's transcendent
it's transcendent.
on multiple levels.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's by definition what transcendent means. Like sometimes things can be transcendent, emanating from one very specific place, but from the little I know about him, he was transcendent on multiple levels.
He was, and I think he struggled with depression too.
Mm.
And I think you're gonna there's a lot in this record. There's just a lot. It's just a lot of metadata, you know. It's like poetry. It's like there's inflections in his voice. There's like little moments, like an instrument just hits a certain way. There's like, and it's like that ocean in the drop thing. It's like there's a lot of that happening on this record. You know, it's very famous. He did a cover of Hallelujah.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's on that album.
That's on that album. And that's the thing that's become super famous. But the nature of that performance of that is like, that's just like that's not even his own song. Like, you know, like on his own songs, imagine what he's doing. I guess it's crazy. Yeah, it's beautiful. I wanted to ask you something, because back to the link you have with Herbie of Buddhism, because you've mentioned a lot at different times today about the arrogance of humans to think that they own the planet. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not a Buddhist and I don't know enough about it, but there is it's in popular culture that people think that within Buddhism there's a idea of reincarnation, and that if you know, like if you did good in this life, you get upgraded, and that humans are on the top of that reincarnation schedule. Is that correct or not?
Well, I'm no authority. My understanding is that's definitely not correct.
Oh, really?
I didn't know that's what a lot of people thought.
Oh, yeah, I think a lot of people.
Oh, really?
Think that, yeah.
Okay. Well, so I don't believe a lot of, for instance, on the topic of reincarnation, my understanding of it is very different than most people, and specifically even like many Buddhists. So, and again, not that I'm correct. I don't think that my understanding is better or less than or correct or incorrect. I'm just being completely transparent with you and just sharing my ever-evolving truth with you.
Love it.
And I'm not forcing myself to believe anything. I do seek truth, but I'm not so full of myself to think that I understand any truth. My feeling about reincarnation is that people take it too literally. My intuition says that the combination of energetic particles are constantly recombining.
That's what I believe.
And really? And that's just what makes sense to me. So when somebody says, I was a butterfly in my last life, I work really hard to not be judgmental in those moments, and to just keep an open mind. But most of the cells of my being are be like, no, you weren't. I'm being really transparent with you right now. And what gives me the confidence to be that vulnerable and transparent with you is that I could for sure be wrong. Maybe people are being reincarnated in that exact form. But to me, it's kind of going back to the trapping, or what I think is a trapping of ego. And what I personally think is this obsession with self. Reincarnation, and in my opinion, and I've felt this way for decades now, and I'm very open to changing my views. But where I've been at for some time is that the energy gets reincarnated, but not to a specific form where we're like, okay, yeah, in my next lifetime, I'm going to be a trumpet player. And yeah, maybe that's how it works. I really don't think so. I think that the energy, there's momentum and energy. That's also another definition of karma that I really love, is that karma is momentum. And obviously there's so many different other layers, important layers to karma than momentum, but that's one perspective that I find really helpful. It's just to think about energy, just energy, because you hear people say that energy doesn't lie. I believe that. I think that there's a lot of truth in just breaking down things into energy. Even Tesla talks about, if you want to understand the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. And I really relate to that. And the more that I focus on just studying vibration and qualities of energy, it opens up so much understanding, and helps me get beyond ego. And again, not that ego is bad. It's just like, I think ego is just so deceptive and inherently kind of a liar, if we just remain there. So yeah, with reincarnation, I think the energy continues to have momentum and continues to have ripples into the dim mist of eternity. But I don't see how it's possible, personally. How, our soul, or the combination of our energy, or of our particles, of our consciousness, can sum itself up into being neatly into another form, exactly as like it's the same soul, or it has enough of the same identity to be like, yes, this was this in this lifetime, and then after that lifetime it became a chair, or became something that moves or doesn't. It does not make sense to me at all. I think it's and again, I just might be the wrong one, so I'm very open to that. But I think we're so addicted to ourself that we're just constantly projecting that onto everything.
It's so true.
So I'm a practicing Buddhist, and I don't believe in reincarnation in the way that most people traditionally believe in it. I think, yes, I do believe in reincarnation, but in a completely different other way.
I love it. What you just said makes so much sense to me.
Yeah.
You're clearly giving it a lot of thought. Is this something you think about, like, while you're making music and such as well, or is it just like in your private times?
I love to think, and now I'm at a really good place with my brain, and but I'm constantly thinking, and I'm writing a variety of books, and it's fun for me to think. And for me, what gives me the interest in thinking and valuing thinking is enjoying it, and to try to house it in a way that it actually frees me and can hopefully have some type of positivity that I can share with people. One of my friends told me something that kind of solidified something that I've been consciously aiming towards. I've been consciously trying to lead my life heart first, and have my brain support my heart. And that's what resonates with me. And it feels so good, and it feels right to me. I value our brain so much, and I value our heart so much, but I've spent years living my brain before. I'm over that. I don't think, and so my friend said something that helped me solidify this approach to life I've been enjoying. And he said that one of his mentors told him that he tries to think with his heart and feel with his brain.
Oh, that's genius.
And I'm like, oh, that's cool. That's kind of what I'm talking about. Yeah. So because I have trained myself to not live in my brain, now I'm really free. with my brain, and I mean, not totally, but for the most part, I feel great upstairs, because I'm not trapped by it. It's not. I don't feel imprisoned by my brain, and I feel like I live in my heart, and then my brain, I don't give it too much power, or I don't give it too much agency. I'm like, yo, the heart, I think, understands reality better. That's just my opinion. I think our hearts understand reality. It can grasp empathy and just how dope life is better than our brain. I think it's fun for our brain, and I really value that. But I like to use my brain to enhance my heart's experience. Yeah.
That was amazing. Wow.
Man, I mean, life is so beautiful. Like, I feel like, man, like, what can I do to, like, stop fucking shit up and just enjoy. I mean, it's such a gift. This is so awesome. I mean, there's so much to discover, and man, I mean, it's incredible that we can, I love archaeology, like studying history. It's so amazing. And like, man, there's so many cool things that people before us have like encountered and have like shared. Like, it's really relevant to today too. Like, I don't think we're the most civilized people that have ever, farted on this planet. So why not open ourselves up to like trying to learn about what other people have thought throughout and then bring what we think might be wisdom or intelligence that we're aware of today, and AI and phones, and combine that with all this other rich perspectives,
That's an exciting thought. I mean, I think I have a hopeful view that despite the turbulent times we're in, that's actually where we're headed.
Right on. I think so too. I really do. It might be just because things get so painful that, what you're talking about just becomes such a beautiful invitation. Be awesome if we can arrive at that without having to go through more pain. But yeah, I'm hopeful. I'm very hopeful, but I don't want to be optimistic in a way that's too naive, because I definitely see how I am naive also. So I think it takes responsibility. You don't seem naive to me, but I see it in myself. But yeah, to be optimistic in a responsible way, maybe that's why we're musicians.
Exactly.
Yeah, bro.
Amazing.
Yeah, I'm grateful. I think there's a lot of good news out there, and it's interesting because a lot of the difficult realities of life are so difficult for so many of us, and so sad and so heartbreaking and excruciatingly painful that it can outweigh all the good news.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredibly inspiring that aside from your achievements in your career, the most inspiring achievement is that to have that level of depression that you had, and to be this person that you are today, so positive, grateful, and engaged in life. That is truly, truly inspiring. And if everyone in the world could like apply themselves to and have faith that they can heal themselves, or at least be on the journey of healing in the manner that you've been on, the world would definitely get much closer to that objective.
Thanks for the encouragement. I think it takes more effort to be ungrateful and to be hateful than it takes to be grateful and pragmatic A lot of my depression came from just not knowing that there's so many solutions. And a little can go a long way. I still have, I won't say that I suffer from depression anymore, but I do suffer with anxiety. Not horribly, but part of my anxiety complex has to do with when I'm learning that I allow myself to get overwhelmed. And so I really have to be really disciplined and really strong with holding myself accountable to taking baby steps. You ever see that? What About Bob? Oh my gosh, it's a hilarious movie. Richard Dreyfuss plays Bill. What's the amazing comic's name? I'm forgetting his last name. Does it start with an M?
Bill Murray?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Bill Murray. Who I hear is very difficult to work with, but what an amazing comedian. And yeah, What About Bob? I think, yeah, it's one of my favorite movies. I have to watch it again. But so Richard Dreyfuss is Bill Murray's shrink. And Bill Murray in real life drove Richard Dreyfuss crazy in the making of this because he was purposely just constantly fucking with Richard, like on set. And I mean, it got really bad, actually. It made the movie really good. I mean, it's an insanely good movie. So I don't think this is spoiling the movie at all, but to give you a little hint at what's going on, Bill is this to everyone but Richard. I forget what Richard Dreyfuss's character's name is, but the shrink. To everyone but Richard Dreyfuss, Bill's like this really charming, like everyone loves the shit out of Bill. And then Bill eventually just drives Richard crazy. But part of the wisdom in the movie that to this day helps me with myself being like overwhelmed, Richard's moniker or mantra for Bill in the movie is baby steps. You know, so like whatever it is that you're like struggling with, you don't have to climb Mount Everest in a day. Just take baby steps. And, you know, a version of that I have to tell myself because I'm doing so much, and sometimes I just want to climb Mount Everest just in one day or one fell swoop. And so what works for me is holding myself accountable, being like, okay, you know, all your feelings, they're true, Miguel. It's not that your feelings are, bad, but just press pause and, you know, what can you do in this moment that might have a positive effect? You know, so that's the type of inner dialogue. But yeah, thank you for saying what you said. I mean, that's one of the benefits of getting that close to death, is that you can potentially, from that place, from such a deep place in your own psyche, you can kind of like reprogram yourself. You know, not that you have to do that via that way, but that was one of the many benefits for me of being able to stick around, was that because I really was very close to not sticking around. And so I really had to be like, I was ready to go. You know, I was really suffering for many years. And so when I decided not to, it was actually from a place of being excited because I saw an inroad of how. And so that's something that I think is very influential for people in the decisions that we make, is if we can have a functioning plan, whatever it is we're trying to manifest, whether it's a nice meal, a nice family, or a nice project, a nice garden. Like, not that we have to be small-minded or have a meticulous plan all the time, but a lot of us don't even realize that we have more options, you know. So if we can tune our frequency to being open to perceiving, options and solutions, then we start seeing them.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing.
I tell myself all the time, it's just because I do think that's true, what I just said, with every cell of my being, but I still have to tell myself that, or remind myself of that.
Did you take any kind of course of therapy, or is this something that you've engineered for your own life?
It's mostly stuff I had to do with myself, but yeah, I have seen therapists. I think therapists can be really, really positive. I find that through discussions like this, art, meditation, reading books, exercise, cooking is so cathartic.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So fun.
Did you go wild during COVID and just cook like?
To a degree. I haven't had a lot of money, so that's also been a fun thing. I mean, cooking can most of the time save money, But I think I cook more than most people, or at least most Americans, or most people. But yeah, pretty much the same. Did you cook more during COVID?
I did, yeah.
Nice.
I mean, I just took my time with it. Like I cook every day now. Actually, I don't like to eat out too much, but because I'm a health freak.
Oh, really? I didn't even know.
Oh yeah, no, I'm a total health freak.
Nice.
Yeah.
Teach me.
I mean, basically, like I was, as I was getting older, I was starting to get like low energy and, just, I don't know, just various little things start going wrong in your body, as you get older. And, I just kind of, there's that guy who he's sort of all about like, don't die is his motto. Have you heard about this guy? He's all about like longevity or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I heard him talking on a few podcasts and stuff, and it got me interested. I mean, the level that he's at is not something that I'm super interested for my life, because it's just very, like, his whole life is about his being in ultimate health. But to take on practices that are like, maximum an hour a day, that I can like reverse aging or maintain like my youth and my vitality as much as I can. So and ChatGPT has been very like actually helpful, because you read about something, then I discuss it with ChatGPT and find, and it also gets to know me, so it knows like, when I tell it everything, like, when I've been sluggish or when I've had energy, and it knows what I ate. So I've actually found many patterns of what is healthy for me and what is unhealthy for me. And actually a very, very simple one I found is that a lack of potassium and an excess of sodium is probably like used to be my biggest problem.
That's so cool you figured it out.
And I figured it out. And so it's just like simple things like eating avocados, bananas, or anything that has potassium, and magnesium also, but like balancing your minerals. And of course, if you eat out, it's just like heavy sodium, loads of oil. Like it's just like, and I'm so healthy that if I go and eat out, I suddenly feel sick, So that's why I just don't do it that often. Obviously, sometimes socially you have to, but yeah, where was I going with this about being a health freak? We were talking about something.
Yeah, I forget the connective tissue. We were talking about cooking.
Oh, that's it.
During the pandemic.
Yeah, so basically during the pandemic, because there was so much time, I would like cook for 3 hours. I would like cook stews that took like very diligent.
I love doing that
process.
Man. It's hard for me to not take that much time to cook.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to force myself sometimes to try to come up with quick meals, But if I really like taking my time and going slow, and it's really hard for me to make a meal in under an hour and a half. I can definitely do it. I definitely have my quick meals too, but I like going slow. I like taking my time, and I also like praying over the food. That's been a mind blowing thing. Thinking about, because you've mentioned energy a couple of times, and I'm not saying I understand how energy works, but I can taste the difference based upon the quality of my energy when I do anything, whether I'm cooking or anything. So, yeah, it's really grounding, I think, just to take notice to, the quality of energy. And it's not coming from a judgmental place. That's been another big breakthrough for me, is to celebrate discernment more than judgment. I think judgment is usually kind of based on a lie more times than not, or often. But discernment, I think, has more truth in it. But yeah, discerning qualities of energy. And so when I'm cooking, I'll pray over the food, and it tastes different.
Yeah, I feel that.
Or even just like focusing on gratitude, I think there's a quality of energy that comes from like the thoughts that we're choosing to focus on.
That's for sure true. Gratitude's a really interesting one. I don't know if you can relate to this, but like, people talk about it so much, right? And we've been aware of it as a concept for so long, right? But for me, there was like a light bulb moment where I felt the difference between wanting to be grateful and genuinely actually being grateful.
Fuck yeah. And everything in between, for sure. Yeah. And one thing that I'm constantly curious about is the act of, or the art of willing ourselves into various states of mind, or in our heart. Yeah. And when I think about infinity, like for instance, when I was really young, I thought that telling the truth was a black and white thing. And maybe sometimes it is, but more times than not, I feel like it's infinite. And I think gratitude is the same way. And I think that I can really see where my sincerity is at based upon my actions. So the depth of, how I'm actually feeling, beyond what I wish I would feel, or, what I think I'm feeling. My actions largely, if not immaculately, reflect. So that's how I can have more, I think, discernment. Wow. Yeah, it's getting past my ego, because my ego wants to not even less with how my ego, the way where my ego's at, and has been for some time, it's like less worried about what other people think of me, but what I think about myself. And it's not that I don't care about other people and what they think about, but it's like in my internal dialogue, like that's what I've been really enjoying, is trying to get past that part of my ego that wants to believe something. Like, I just want to be more aligned with truth, which I think is really benevolent truth. And then my concept of truth, it's not like a dry, harsh thing. It's not. I think like my concept of truth is that like if I understand more truth, I'm able to work with it and create more harmony.
I agree, and I love what you said earlier about thinking with your heart, because I feel like that's where the truth is accessed.
Oh. It seems maybe it's more expansive. Not that our minds can't be expansive, but I feel like there's, and not that our minds can't be empathetic, but there's just something, I don't know, about the heart that I think, yeah, what's that famous, only with the heart you can see correctly? Is that a phrase in The Little Prince? Yeah, it's just expansive. Yeah, I wonder if science will prove one day that there's something with the rhythm of our heartbeat that's connected to the heartbeat of the multiverse. I don't know, but
there has to be something, even if we don't know what it is and can't prove it.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost certain, I would say, even kind of like scientific fact, that there is some relationship to the heart and consciousness, because that is by definition what life is like. Your heart starts beating mysteriously when you're conceived or at some point in the embryo, and then at some point it stops beating, and at that moment that it stops beating, everything else stops.
Yeah, I'm down with that. And I'm also thinking about the tides, and I'm also thinking about like gravity and gravitational pull. I'm also thinking about how, like, doesn't our brain, when we're developing in the embryo, doesn't our brain develop out of the gut? And so I think that's also another interesting layer of the conversation. But I wonder if there's something about the gravitational pull of like the various, tides, not just like on the planet, but throughout the solar system, that's also connected. Well, it must be. I mean, it's all connected, but how is that connected to the beating of our hearts? And I love how you said earlier about how even the beating of our hearts is not like on some grid, just even the healthiest people like don't have some perfectly aligned heartbeat.
Right.
Yeah. And then on the beautiful Beethoven Moonlight Sonata, I'm forgetting in this moment whether in his lifetime was it ever referred to as the Moonlight Sonata. We should look it up. My memory says it was the publisher. It was not Beethoven, but in his lifetime, the publisher assigned it that label. But yeah, let's definitely fact check that. But yeah, thinking about with a lot of Beethoven's work, definitely that. I get the vibe of eclipses.
Big time.
You do too?
Big time.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know if that was just something that was just like more me. I know when you first told me of your love of Beethoven, I know I geeked out and I told you something like, oh man, what's one device I really love that he does? He'll have some beautiful exposition for a section of his piece. He does this with some frequency. He'll have this awesome first main act. He'll end in whatever key he's in. And then the next act, the next section, he'll just start up a half a step.
Yeah.
And to me, that's like an eclipse.
Yeah.
Or an aspect of one aspect of it. Man, I love that dude. He's rhythmic as fuck, too.
Oh, yeah.
Can you imagine hearing him play piano?
Pfft. Wild.
I mean, I guess we kind of can through his compositions, but it's nothing like the real thing.
Oh, yeah.
Did you see that? Did you hear about that story of Rossini visiting him towards the end of his life?
No.
It's sad, but it's also like, not comforting, but I think it's important to read this. So basically Rossini, the great operatic composer, not just operas, the great composer who was like very popular in his lifetime, very I mean, very successful. He visited Beethoven towards the end of Beethoven's life and just said that Beethoven was living in complete squalor.
Really? That's wild because of something. Okay, this is crazy because like, I can't remember where I read it, but I read one of those things where they tell you how much money people made in real terms.
All right.
Right? So like if Beethoven was alive today, like what his net worth would be. Like, I mean, not if he was alive today, but in that year's money, what it would relate to. And he was actually one of the more wealthy composers. Like he was actually like, by today's standards, he would have been a multimillionaire in his own lifetime.
I remember reading that too. Yeah.
Well, so how was he living in squalor then? Was it just like mental illness or?
Depends on how you want to wrap your head around it. Without being a scholar, my understanding is that he was really suffering physically. At that point, I mean, mercury poisoning, syphilis.
Yeah.
I mean, he died when he was 56. He had just horrible gut stuff going on. Like he had multiple illnesses. He did not relate to most of society. So illness, just like not really caring what people thought, not valuing money the way that some other people do, not prioritizing, that's an interesting concept. Comfort. What does comfort mean to somebody? I don't think there's a right way to think about it necessarily, but I'm just trying to acknowledge that the way that Beethoven likely related to the topic of comfort was likely different than most people. Yeah, I think at that point he was just communicating with God, just communicating with the multiverse. And the other thing Rossini said was that, so it was like a 2-story loft or a small apartment, and Beethoven worked on the 2nd floor, and there was just like rain coming in and just like manuscripts. He said there was excrement on the floor.
Oh my God. Whoa.
He could hear a little bit. I mean, he had a couple different ways of like feeling the vibration. He had one thing, it was almost like a pen that he put in between his teeth and then touched the piano.
Oh, wow.
And he could get something from that.
Wow.
I don't think he had a lot of visitors. But then, I mean, when he had his funeral, I mean, it was like huge, thunderstorm.
Wow.
Man, I fucking love Beethoven. This is a quote that I really like. So I'm sure there's a lot of amazing critics out there. I'm not somebody that's completely dark on critics, but Beethoven got bashed for his beautiful string quartets, the subject of this particular quote. I'm sure he got bashed for pretty much all of his stuff by critics and other people. But on this particular occasion, his I think his late string quartets are just some of the most sublime things that a human being has ever done. But he was getting bashed by these critics, and he's like, I don't care. I didn't write those for you. I wrote those for an audience 200 years from now.
Whoa. Amazing.
Which, funny enough, is next year. Well, I mean, he died in 1827, but I think he was, I think that quote's like 1824 or something around there. So around 200 years ago.
I mean, I do feel like he was the turning point of music because, because Mozart wasn't that long before him. And it's Mozart's music, whilst also obviously brilliant, it feels very of a different time. Whereas a lot of Beethoven's music feels like the early, like you can make the relation from his music to Debussy.
Yeah.
And you can make the leap from Debussy to Gershwin, and
Yeah.
from Gershwin to Quincy Jones. You know what I mean? And
I agree with you. Yeah, Franz Liszt
exactly.
is another one, but Franz Liszt wasn't writing symphonic music like Beethoven. So yeah, I think that's a really good point you make. That's an interesting connection between Beethoven and Debussy. I'm trying to think of the exact year Debussy was born. It was either in the 1870s, somewhere around there. It might have been in the 1860s, but yeah, maybe 1870s. Yeah, and then Beethoven, I think, almost certain Beethoven died in 1827. Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right on. Yeah. Because even though Franz Liszt was like a total rock star and had a long life and might have been the greatest pianist, you know, before Horowitz. Yeah, Liszt was not. I mean, Liszt did write some orchestral music, but it was mostly piano stuff. In some ways, I see more of a parallel between Liszt with Debussy than Beethoven, but I kind of agree with you when you think of, you know, things like Moonlight Sonata, because Liszt, even though he was so romantic, Liebestraum and stuff like that, it's kind of similar to Debussy. A lot of his stuff is so wizardry. It's a little bit less romantic in a certain way. And Beethoven, I think, is just like so guttural. Beethoven's kind of guttural in a way that Liszt isn't. Wow. Man, I could talk to you forever. We should have like a volume 2 of this
sure.
in like a year or something, but definitely let's make music soon.
Let's do it, brother.
Yeah, anything. A lot of different inroads to how we could do something.
Yeah, I look forward to it.
Yeah, I'm not that far away too. I thought it was going to be further away, but it was like 30 minutes.
Perfect. Thank you for coming, brother.
Dude, what a joy.
What a joy. This is...
Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, you're doing something really positive.
Oh, dude, look who's talking, man. Wow.
Hey, you know, our eyebrows are the thing closest to our eye, and we can't see our own eyebrow.
Wow, that is deep.
Teamwork makes the dream work. I love that concept that, like, we all have, like, blind spots, so, like, let's team up, you know, and help each other.
I love that.